Gold just broke out of record highs, confirming what the CEO of a $118 billion firm just said about Bitcoin. 400K Bitcoin might be coming quicker than you think. Let's watch the clip before you guys throw your tomatoes.
The level of outperformance on every time frame imaginable off of what people still think is just imaginary funny money nonsense.
So common sense. It's digital gold, right? The supply is limited. People have a demand for that kind of stuff. And it has hit escape velocity like in the mid-teens. So by 2017, like there was a little chance that anything was going to catch up to this, right? Millions of people had already adopted it. And then if you just say, okay, it becomes half the market value of gold, boom, that's $400,000 in Bitcoin. So like it's not like a crazy, like it is just common sense.
It sounds easy enough. It sounds easy when you say it in a clip like that. Now the road up to that will probably be a lot harder than we can really just say in a short clip. But the crazy things that we're seeing is this was said a little while ago, and I think this was last week. And what we're seeing play out right now in the gold and bond markets is, from my perspective as a Bitcoiner and kind of becoming, the quote unquote macro expert here, it's very interesting stuff. Now I'm going to go through, a gold bond saga right now. And I'm sure you're going to tune out because you're like, I came to this show about Bitcoin, but this is telling us a lot of information of what is happening right now and kind of the precarious nature that we currently find ourselves in. So let me start the saga here. And of course, Nico's here with us. Of course, I couldn't be doing this without Nico. Here we have the first kind of data point. And Pomp tweeted this morning, or sorry, yesterday night. And he goes, gold is up 70% since the start of 2024. The market is telling you something. Are you listening? So you can see here the gold futures at 3,545, up 83% the past 5 years. As we saw in the tweet, it's up 70% since 2024. So in the last year, it started ripping. Now, what is this telling us about the market? Historically, gold is kind of that hedge against inflation, against losing trust in the institutions. But as you heard the VanEck CEO say, we know that right now a lot of people are looking at Bitcoin as digital gold. Now, why is that? It's because the narrative of Bitcoin as a hedge against inflation, as a hedge against the traditional financial system. These are narratives that people can latch onto. This is a narrative that people can understand. This is a metaphor for what is going on. Though I believe, and we believe here, and probably you believe in the chat, that Bitcoin is much more than digital gold. You guys heard me say this on the show for a while. I don't really like the digital gold meme, but it's something it's a narrative that people have latched onto. So I'm going to go to the gold chart here. You guys can see currently we are at 3,525. Breaking all-time highs. The last all-time high, it just kind of kissed it, was April 25. Then we're in June 25, and now we are breaking out. Now, what is this telling us about the financial system right now? Well, it looks like people are losing trust in the system. And of course, historically, the risk-off asset, the risk-off investment is buying treasuries. And this is where it starts to get interesting. And this is just leaning into traditional financial systems here. And there's more data points here, guys. I don't know if you guys have been seeing this. Maybe my feed is just a bunch of macro stuff, because this is, I think, where the ticking time bomb is playing out. But this tweet also came up a few weeks ago, last week. And it goes, foreign central banks have now officially held more gold than U.S. treasuries, and this is the first time since 1996. Let that sink in. If you think this buying streak is ending, just look at what happened in the 1970s. Again, in the 70s, there was high inflation, and something very similar happened, or is happening now, that we've seen in the past. And this is likely the beginning of one of the most significant global rebalancings that we've experienced in recent histories, in my view. And I think this is why you can also reel in the stablecoin narrative we've been seeing. There is a stablecoin push in the U.S. The world reserve currency status of the dollar is kind of in this precarious place right now. It looks like people are dumping the dollar or dumping treasuries for gold. And we're seeing that central banks around the world are doing this exact play. They don't want treasuries, they want gold. Obviously, right now, we would believe that they would go into Bitcoin, but first, they got to get into something that they're used to. And that's what we're seeing play out. If the central banks are holding gold right now, they're dropping treasuries, what is going on and what is this telling you about the system? Again, as Pomp was saying, are you listening to what the market is saying? Now, I came across this really interesting thread. I'm not going to read the whole thing for you guys, but last night I quote tweeted on my do you have Bitcoin? Because they're still kind of playing the traditional financial plays here, but obviously from our perspective, the only solution here is Bitcoin. So kind of showing you what's going on. Long-term government bonds are surging across the world. So this isn't just a U.S. problem here. This isn't just the U.S. Treasury market going the way of losing world reserve currency status for the dollar. This is happening everywhere. So this is a global systemic problem that's happening right now. And all the bond markets right now, all the bond interest yields are showing the same exact thing, which isn't a good scenario because we all know what is potentially on the horizon here. We've seen Trump battle Powell, talk about interest rates, talk about lowering interest rates because we need to fix what's going on. It's just not working right now. And this is where this thread kind of breaks this down. So here we got the first one. I'm only going to read a few of these tweets. If you guys want this thread, I can drop this for you guys in the chat here. But the bond market is in trouble across the world. Again, this is globally. Long-term government bond yields are rising everywhere from the U.S. to Japan to France to the U.K. Finance is entering a new, more dangerous era. So I'm not here to, doom you guys. I'm not here to go fiat doom. It's over tomorrow. I'm just here to tell you there is something brewing. There is something happening right now that very few people understand. And I would probably consider myself in that camp. I'm starting to grasp this because the implications of what's going on are everywhere. It's on every corner of the planet right now. So here's a couple of good tweets that I am going to read because it does kind of explain what's going on. So normally when central banks pause or cut short-term rates, long-term yields fall. But since 2023, the opposite has happened. Central banks are holding steady or signaling cuts. And while long yields have surged to their highest levels in decade. Now, what's driving this? The global forces that are driving this is, of course, soaring deficits and public debt, inflation that refuses to fade, central banks' credibility under fire, and shifting investor psychology and the return of bond vigilantes. And because markets are interconnected, this stress spreads worldwide. Now, this is probably the big idea here. What we're seeing, it's not just in the U.S., this is global. Now, we've seen similar scenarios play out, at least in the U.S. or in certain pockets in Europe, and they were able to kind of compartmentalize this. They were able to keep it just for one country. Now we're seeing that this problem is happening everywhere. And again, I don't want to fearmonger here, but if you aren't holding Bitcoin right now, you probably should be. Now, going further, or actually, I read this here. Actually, is the one I want to read. Bottom line, the bond markets across the world is being repriced. France, Germany, Japan, the UK, the US are all seeing yield surge in unison. This isn't an anomaly. It's a structural reset. 5% long bonds may just be the new normal in global finance. And that's kind of the kicker here. Usually, when you see 5% bond yields, that's like things are going to blow up. Now we're seeing, hey, this might be the new normal here. This might be where we are living. And if you're looking at what's happening in Japan, maybe we're all just going way of Japan. And again, I don't want to rehash kind of my favorite tinfoil hat conspiracy theory, but this is why Satoshi Nakamoto's pseudonym is Satoshi Nakamoto. Basically saying, if we don't figure this out, we are going the way of Japan, and that's not a good thing. So here's Anthony Pompolano again, a follow response to that original tweet, and this is where it starts getting a little interesting. Gold has essentially experienced a perfect storm of supportive conditions, institutional demand, inflation concerns, geopolitical risk, and favorable interest rate environments all aligning simultaneously. This combination has pushed gold to historic highs and fundamentally shifted its role from primarily a dollar hedge to a critical reserve asset for uncertain times. This is what's going on, guys. We are seeing that the new reserve asset may not be treasuries as it used to be. It's probably not going to be the dollar. A lot of people are saying it's going to gold, but if you really connect this with what the VanEck CEO is saying, as from a Bitcoiner's perspective, we obviously believe that that new reserve asset will become Bitcoin. Now, again, this isn't just a one-off thing. This is happening globally. So the huge elephant in the room is 74% of the world's central banks are cutting rates in 2024, the highest share since 2021. In May 2025 alone, global central banks cut rates 15 times. So why are yields at 30-plus year highs if we are in the midst of an aggressive global rate cut cycle? Deficit spending is out of control and inflation is back on the rise. Simply put, we now have higher interest rates despite rate cuts. The bond markets do not lie. And what we saw this morning, again, Kobayashi letter has been all over this, guys. This what we're seeing right now, as Kobayashi letter is saying, this is the definition of broken. In 15 days, the Fed will cut rates for the first time in 2025, yet the 30-year Treasury yield is now near 5%. We have rising interest rates at markets pricing Fed interest rate cuts. Do you realize what's happening? And as Max Kaiser said, the bond apocalypse is now. He's been talking about the bond apocalypse for a while. Of course, Bitcoin is the fix for this, but it seems like this is what is going on right now. The bond apocalypse is happening right now. Does this mean all hell's breaking loose, disaster? I don't think so. I think they'll figure out ways to kick this can down the road. But if you are someone on Main Street, if you are someone that's a macro investor, just sitting in the S&P 500, sitting in treasuries, now's the time where you probably need some Bitcoin. And as one of my new favorite accounts, Sightbringer, says, this is the death rattle of the fiat regime. The bond market is screaming that the old game is over. For decades, governments could spend recklessly, central banks could cut rates, and yields would obey. That reflex is broken. This is what is happening. The reflex, the way that they can control the system, the way that they can control currencies, it's not working how it used to work. Now, this is a terrifying prospect, considering they usually can control this. Now, what they're doing, we're in uncharted waters. And to end this, before I pass this over to Nico, this is not a, quote, market cycle problem. It's a confidence problem. Once investors no longer believe in the state's promise to control inflation or maintain solvency, bonds stop functioning as safe collateral. That's the hinge point where the fiat system starts to rot from the inside. Now, all of this is painting a picture to basically say what the VanEck CEO said, which is, hey, look, this is escape velocity. What is happening right now is showing you, hey, you need to try something different. And if you aren't ahead of the curve right now, if you're not in Bitcoin, then you're probably going to get wrecked. Now, going back to this idea of all Bitcoin really has to do to get to 400K. Actually, I did the math this morning. Gold's ripping right now. So gold's at like a $24 trillion market cap. At a $12 trillion market cap, half of the gold market cap, that's somewhere around like $571,000 per Bitcoin. At 400K, that's about $8 trillion market cap. So if this catches on, if more people start to not trust the system, not trust treasuries, not trust what Jerome Powell is going to do in September, not believe in the interest rates kind of cooling the economy, cooling the inflation, getting people to kind of feel that they have this under control, there could be a domino, a watershed moment, a waterfall moment getting into Bitcoin. And that is when this price of Bitcoin can move very, very quickly. Now, again, I don't want to fearmonger here, but this is what I'm seeing right now. It looks like there is issues worldwide. I don't know if you guys have caught it, but France right now is on the verge of basically defaulting right now. They're talking to the IMF saying, hey, we probably need some money right now. And historically, it's Germany and France in the EU that are like the safest, kind of jurisdictions here. They're usually the most conservative. And if they're panicking, if they're in trouble, it's not looking good for Europe. And further, everything is connected to the dollar. So if they can't get this under control in September 15th with these rate cuts, I think all bets are off here. I think we can see the Bitcoin price rip way faster than we even imagined. This slow crawl, this slow climb upwards, it may not be what's going on. Now, if we do see that, if we do see an incredible price movement in Bitcoin, that will fundamentally tell you what the gold price is telling you, that there is something structurally broken in traditional finance. And as Larry Lepard's been saying on Twitter, when gold rips, that usually means Bitcoin's going to lag a little bit and rip even harder. So we're seeing gold rip. We're seeing a slow motion train crash happen in real time. Gold is ripping because there's something in the bond market that people are terrified about. Now, when Bitcoin starts ripping, it might rip harder than gold. So do we have a timeline on this? No, I think usually the Bitcoin to gold delay is about 100 days. So it's kind of aligning perfectly towards what we've been saying. Q4 here for Bitcoin is probably going to be an incredible time. September, we do have an inverse Kramer playing out here, guys, so there's hope. September historically is a very bad return for Bitcoin. It's usually a bad month for returns. Kramer just came out on Twitter basically saying September is usually weak. So inverse Kramer, left side of the bell curve, September might be a great month for Bitcoin, and then going into Q4, it might even be better. Look, all I'm saying is we have a perfect storm on the horizon here. Yes, maybe I'm reading tea leaves. Yes, maybe I'm connecting some dots that aren't there. But historically, we know when there's problems in the bond markets, people look for other investments. They look for a safe investment. And if the safest investment right now, which is historically treasuries, isn't working out anymore, if that trade is blowing up in real time, people will move to gold first, and then eventually they're got to end up here at Bitcoin. They're going to end up at Bitcoin. It's hard to look at gold's returns and then see Bitcoin rip even harder and not chase them. So look, there is trouble in the treasury markets. Can they figure it out? Possibly. As a Bitcoiner, it's like, do we even have to really watch what's going on there? Not really. Just stack Bitcoin, chill out. Everything will most likely work itself out in Bitcoin land. But again, what we're seeing is, for lack of better phrasing, I think the feds out there are like the Janet Yellens of the world and all of the fear mongers around Bitcoin, where they say essentially, Bitcoin is how do they frame it, Nico? Bitcoin is so intertwined with the traditional financial system that if something goes wrong with us, you might blow up the whole financial system. It's the opposite. It's the inverse of that. Bitcoin is so intertwined with macroeconomics that if the bond markets blow up, Bitcoin might dump, faster, but it's going to respawn faster. Or it could be the opposite. This could be what, that we've been saying forever, the decoupling, just in not how everyone thought it was going to be. This isn't the decoupling from alts. This is the decoupling from treasury markets, traditional markets. So look, we are in an interesting time right now. And if you don't really care about treasuries, of course, the TLDR is Bitcoin's going to go up. This signal is catching on, and it could happen a lot quicker than any of us imagine. It could be what we've been saying for a while. It could be just a slow grind to $1 million, which is just a totally different scenario. But if we do see just some rippage here in the Bitcoin price, I don't know what that's really saying about the health of the global financial system right now. So you can't just say, hey, the US is going to default. We're going, we're going to go the way of Weimar. We're going into hyperinflation. It's like, no, guys, as I've been telling you, this is a global thing going on. So this isn't just a 2008, great financial recession in the US. This is like global depression. This might be 1929 all over again on a worse scale than we've ever seen before. Again, I am fear mongering here, but this is what I'm seeing. Of course, this could be this nothing ever happens moment here. But the best protection is, of course, protecting yourself in Bitcoin, saving in Bitcoin, and all of this. It could be just a nothing burger for us Bitcoiners. But what the bond markets are telling us right now, Nico, is not a good thing. So 2 weeks from now in September, I think it's September 14th or September 15th when we get these Fed rate cuts. Whether we get the Fed rate cuts, though, the odds are increasing on all of the betting platforms. I think we're at 94% right now.
Wow.
We're this might be a a very, very explosive end of the year here. It might have been a very slow start of the year, 9 months, very slow. The last, we might be seeing a very, very, very nice green Christmas here, Nico. So I've been ranting. I'm sure I lost people because we're talking treasuries and gold, and we're like, we're Bitcoiners. I thought we weren't supposed to care about this stuff. I get it. I totally get it. I know there's other concerns in Bitcoin right now, but what I'm seeing is there is a ticking time bomb playing out in traditional markets. And let's just hope, Bitcoin is the real winner here. So Nico, I went far enough, and I know you're not a macro guy, but am I making a good case where an average person can understand what is going on?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just put the pieces together, ladies and gentlemen. We try to do that for you guys. Like, you guys have to understand that just bonds in general is a way for governments to raise money. But I think the big question, the big kahuna, and what that clip of that podcast that you played referenced is, listen, like, what happens when Bitcoin starts outperforming bonds? Saylor is preparing for this exact moment, right? Like, Saylor has created specific products, specific yield products that could substitute for traditional fixed income. But the yield's much higher, right? I know that Bitcoin's track record is not, it's only 16 years old, right? Bonds have been around for a long time. Gold has been around for thousands of years. Bitcoin has a 16-year history, so it's relatively new on the scene, but Saylor's thinking 10, 20 years from now, down the road. That's his whole theory. He's thinking 10 years down the road. If Bitcoin keeps doing its thing, then it's going to prove, and this is the turning point. I think this is the singularity, so to speak. I think this is what Opti was referring to. What happens all of a sudden if Bitcoin proves that it is a superior place to park your money than bonds? Even if you don't want to buy spot Bitcoin, if you're just buying Bitcoin through one of the many MicroStrategy products that he specifically developed to attract bond investors that are looking for that safe and secure traditional fixed income yield. What happens if even 10%, 20% start looking at Bitcoin and they start looking at the equivalent of it? And that's why that gentleman was referencing gold. That's why he was saying, like, look, like, it's going to catch up to gold. And what's really interesting is that when that podcast was recorded, he was right. If Bitcoin caught up to gold, it would be like $400,000 per coin. If Bitcoin caught up to the gold market cap today, gold's currently sitting at 22 trillion. That's a 10x for Bitcoin. That's a 10-bagger. A 10-bagger from where we are right now is $1.1 million. That's a very, very different conversation. Imagine if we were sitting at $1.1 million Bitcoin. Wow, this channel would be a lot bigger, wouldn't it, Opti? I don't know at what point, what are we talking about? We'd be wearing suits at that point, right? But yeah, I mean, like, look, like, traditionally, bonds have always been seen as safe yield assets for pensions, corporate treasuries, and sovereign wealth funds. But what happens if Bitcoin consistently outpaces them? Capital will naturally rotate away from low yield debt into scarce appreciating asset. This undermines completely the demand for government bonds and raises borrowing costs for states and accelerates the shift towards Bitcoin as a store of value and, most importantly, a collateral base. Essentially, it flips the hierarchy. Instead of Bitcoin being the risk-on bet, bonds themselves look riskier compared to a hard cap digital asset, the so-called pristine collateral, right? So Bitcoin not only fixes the money problem, Bitcoin, this is what Saylor is proving right now with all the products that he's developing. He's potentially proving that Bitcoin fixes the fixed income problem. He's basically saying, like, look, guys, I'll give you 8% or 10%. I think it's 10% is the latest number in fixed income, but you got to give me the upside. So he's taking the risk. He's giving you 10%. You know, in his mind, he's thinking that Bitcoin has a 40 to 30% CAGR in the next 10 years. So MicroStrategy is making a ton of money off of that. The fixed income guys are super happy because they're not getting nearly close to 10% from traditional bonds. Everyone's happy in that situation, right? Because Bitcoin is the superior asset. And, you know, the thing is, and this is where I think it could be a little bit of a interesting dilemma that's going to play out is, remember, bonds are, or historically have been, a way that governments have used to raise money. That's always been the case. And, there's bonds by many countries, right? And you can actually buy bonds from countries that look very unstable, but they're offering very high yields, and you could make a great return because you're willing to take on the risk. Traditionally, US bonds have been looked at as a safe haven, right? They've been looked at as like nothing could be the security of a US Treasury bond. That's always traditionally how it's always been. And now, Opti, you're mentioning France. I didn't even know France was in trouble, but what you were saying about France is
Let me see if I can find it.
I don't know what it is on the top 10, but it is one of Europe's largest economies, right? So if people are having insecurity about the future of bonds in France, and by the way, the same thing is happening in the United States, by the way. Like, just connect what Lynn Alden is saying, connect what Larry Lepard is saying, connect the M2, connect the unintended consequences of all of that, the symptoms, specifically for the younger generations, and the fact that you can't afford anything, the rising wealth inequality gap. Like, something is breaking within the system. Now, this is where Bitcoin serves as a lifeboat. This is where you can jump on Bitcoin. You could put a percentage. There we go. The breaking news. This came out August 26th. For the audio listeners, France may need IMF bailout, warns finance minister. France borrowing costs spike as country faces second collapse of its government within a year. Yeah, I mean,
Not good.
again, like, I think that this phenomenon, though, is happening worldwide. Like, I think that this is not just something that's happening in France. I think that if your country has a money printer, it is spending beyond its means. And it's also getting people used to this giant safety net, this idea that, you're born onto this planet and the government owes you something, right? Which, again, I think you could talk about Social Security, at least here in the United States with FDR. You can make a good argument that was made with good intention, right? It was made with good intention so that, when you get older, you don't have to work and like you have a guaranteed income and all that stuff. The thing is, that system was not designed for today, right? This was a system implemented like, 30, 40, or like in the 30s, bro. 30s and 40s. The population of the country was half. The life expectancy of people was significantly lower than 65, right? And now the life expectancy of people, I think, is like 78, right? And if you're doing well for yourself, you live into your 80s. I mean, the president of the United States President Trump's in his he's about to hit his 80. I think he's 79 or something, right? So, like, again, governments have been spending beyond their means. And the way that they've been doing that is with money printing. The way that they've been doing that is with bonds. Bitcoin comes along, and again, it provides a better instrument, or a better, way to get that fixed income. It's better money. It's pristine collateral. It's not my fault that governments have been spending beyond their means. It's not my fault that they've been using the money printer, because the way you have to frame it in your head is the reason that the government controls money is not because it was given to them. It was because we didn't have an alternative system to have, and it's still corrupted, but what would be the alternative? Private money. Okay, so if you have private money, then you're going to have private citizens manipulating the money for their own gain. At least with the government, there's like the theoretical, okay, this is a democracy. You can kind of vote on it, but you can't really vote on it because the Fed governors are appointed. They're not elected. They have crazy, very long terms. Like what has been happening for the last year or so, the Fed has been acting as if they're unaccountable to no one. So that is the fiat system, right? But at least that was the best we came up with. We came up with until 2009. 2009 proved that money can exist not only without the state, but it also proved that money can exist. No, that money could be better without the state. So it proves two things. And now here's the thing. There's a tremendous amount of financing that the state does, a lot of funding that doesn't come from revenue. It comes from money printing. And again, this isn't free. It's a tax on the everyday person. That's what money printing is. And that's the problem that Bitcoin solves, right? So yes, it solves the bond thing, what Opti's talking about, the symptoms of the system breaking. The system's going to break. Every fiat currency has historically gone to zero. Ever since like the beginning of fiat currencies, even the Roman Empire, their currency was debased until like it was like in the beginning, like it had like 85% silver, and then towards the end of the collapse of the Roman Empire, it was like 0.0000003%. Like, what did they do? They did the exact same thing. They debased the currency. And again, I'm not pointing fingers. If you had the godlike power of the money printer, my question to you is, wouldn't you do the same thing? Because in your heart, you think you're doing this, you think you're doing things for good, right? You think you're doing things for good. It's like you're promising people healthcare, you're promising people schooling. Like, that sounds fantastic. That sounds amazing. But here's the thing, it isn't free. You're paying for it. This is why Argentina elected a libertarian president that is a big fan of the Austrian School of Economics. This is why they elected him. Because unlike the United States is the global reserve currency. So we have a very special privilege. We can print to high heaven because everyone in the world is holding dollars. So the United States is in that unique position where it could just go crazy with the money printer. There are still consequences for that at home, for sure. But if we didn't have that privilege of being the world reserve currency, and we did what we did during the pandemic, and they printed all that money, we would be Argentina tomorrow in terms of inflation. We would be Argentina tomorrow because essentially all they're doing is just printing paper. It's paper. Think about it. Think about it. The thing that you work so hard for, you put your energy, your time, your work ethic, like you're so focused on acquiring this paper. Some bureaucratic elite have the ability to create that paper out of nothing. Now contrast that with Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin ain't free to make. You have to invest in mining infrastructure. Mining machines ain't cheap. They're very hot. They use a lot of electricity. There's a cost of production to making more Bitcoin. That's number one. Number two, there's a capped supply. So not only does it cost you money to make more Bitcoin, you can only have 21 million Bitcoin. That's why if you live on a Bitcoin standard, your life, your purchasing power it increases over time. And that's when you live on a fiat standard, your purchasing power decreases over time. That's the simple reason. And I think what Opti is pointing out when he's talking about France, the United Kingdom, also the United States, I heard, is having problems selling bonds as well, right? I'm sure I saw that headline somewhere. These are symptoms of a broken system. And the best thing that you can do for you and your family is find an effing chair before the music stops, right? And that chair is Bitcoin in self-custody. Find a chair before the music stops, because when the music does stop, it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be a pretty sight. It's not going to be this like, oh, everything's going to be fine. Like, no. It's going to suck, including here in the US. It's going to suck everywhere when the system inevitably breaks. And your escape is Bitcoin. So Opti is just pointing out to another part of the system where Bitcoin is superior. Bitcoin fixes this, but also it's very like, that's crazy. Like at the simultaneously, like, you know, the fact that like, again, you're not talking about a minor economy here. You're talking about one of the largest economies in the world, one of the largest economies in Europe, and they're having trouble getting rid of these things. So that tells you, free market signals are telling you that, hey, we don't find value in this, right? So is this gonna all happen, transpire in the next 4 months? We can't tell you that. We have no idea. But what we can tell you with a lot of confidence and a lot of security is that I think the music is going to stop in the next 10, 20 years. I think inevitably they're not going to be able to kick the can down the road. And I think inevitably you're going to hope you have a seat when the music stops. And you're going to hope that you have that Bitcoin in self-custody so that when that music stops, your purchasing power, your work, your time, your energy is all protected, because that's what it boils down to. Anyways, Opti, me and you just ripped on this subject. It seems like people have been liking it. Guys, if you guys are enjoying the show, we're at 560 live viewers on YouTube alone, 129 likes. Help us get to 250 likes by the end of the show. Shout out to the Rumble audience, almost at 100 live viewers, and X always coming in strong with over 1,500 live viewers on X. If you guys are enjoying Simply Bitcoin Live, make sure to smash that like button. We have a loaded show for you guys. It seems like you guys like the intro section. Opti, seems like we have to do more of this macro talk.
Dude, people like macro, apparently.
It seems like people
I thought they would be bored. I thought they'd be bored, but apparently people like it.
I have an article talking about Bitcoin getting boring during the news, so we're going to talk about that. And then I have a clip of Brian Armstrong talking about $1 million Bitcoin by 2030. Ladies and gentlemen, that's like 4 years away. That's a 10 bagger, less than a 10 bagger, like a 9 and something bagger in 4 years. What type of asset's going to give you that type of return? Doesn't exist, in my opinion. I think it's only Bitcoin. But anyways, guys, it's been an incredible show. Before we get into it, I do want to give a shout out to our lead sponsor. Guys, Simply Bitcoin would not be on air today if it wasn't for our partners. If you guys want the show, check out our partners. We're very picky on who we choose to partner with. Go check out bitcoinwell.com. To get started, you scan the QR code on your screen. It'll take you directly to bitcoinwell.com/simply. Takes 2 to 5 minutes to get signed up. And the reason that we recommend Bitcoin Well here at Simply Bitcoin is that's the only on-ramp in the United States that is automatic self-custody. That means that when you buy Bitcoin on Bitcoin Well, as soon as the funds clear, it goes straight to your self-custody Bitcoin wallet address, which is the only way you should be holding Bitcoin. If you're a higher net worth individual and you want the same service, you want to buy Bitcoin and you want that Bitcoin sent to your wallet within a 24-hour time frame, you have to check out Bitcoin Well Infinite. This is tailored for high net worth individuals that are looking to buy $50,000 worth of Bitcoin or more. If you're part of a family office, you're a high net worth individual, you're a trust, you're an organization, again, you have to check out Bitcoin Well Infinite today. Speak to their team, schedule a call, go to bitcoinwell.com/OTC. All right, everybody, it's going to be an incredible show. We have tons to talk about. We will be right back in just a bit. I want to give a shout out to our partner, Stampseed. Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Are your seed phrases really secure? Stampseed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you'll need for you to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates. Instead of just writing them down on paper, paper is fragile. Titanium plates are strong. Your words are actually stamped into the titanium plate with this hammer and these letter stamping tools. Once the words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamp seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They are also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and time-proof. And now you can customize your titanium seed plates. You can upload your design or logo and they will laser engrave it on the back of your seed plate, the opposite side of where the words are. Stamp your seed on Stampseed and use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the stampseed.com store. Hello, everybody. Sorry about that. Guys, Scan the QR code on your screen, take you directly to stampseed.com. Use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the stampseed.com store. Don't write down your seed words on paper. Stamp them into a plate of titanium only on stampseed.com. Promo code SIMPLY for 15% off. At the time of recording, the Bitcoin price is $110,720. Block height 912,907 sats per dollar, 903 sats per dollar. Market cap 2.21 trillion. Bitcoin versus gold market cap 8.83%, decline from all-time high, negative 11%. Realized monetary inflation 0.84%. In the grand scheme of things, we are just getting the party started. Anyways, here is the CEO, whether you like it or not, of the world's largest Bitcoin and crypto exchange, Fortune 500 company, and custodian of not only MicroStrategy's Bitcoin, but 11 out of the 12 Bitcoin ETFs, Brian Armstrong. And now even Brian Armstrong is dropping effing price predictions. I think we're just that bored, bro. I think it's been that boring. Like I tweeted it out and the tweet blew the F up. Anytime a tweet blows up, that means that it's on everyone's mind. Because if a tweet doesn't blow up, that means that not everyone's thinking that. But when a tweet blows up, I forgot how much likes it ended up with. Let me check right now. Got 779 likes. And I said, Bitcoin's price today is exactly at where it was the day of President Trump's inauguration, 109K. That was yesterday. We're doing better today. We're at 111K. But bro, it's been 9 months. You can make a baby in 9 months. It's been 9 months, okay? And the price of Bitcoin has gone from 109K to 111K. That's a 2K increase. So, I'm sorry. I don't know. Anyways, so what is happening? We have Michael Saylor throwing price predictions. Now you have the CEO of Coinbase throwing price predictions. I'm going to play the video and then Opti and I are going to talk about it.
The rough idea I have in my head is like we'll see $1 million Bitcoin by 2030, and there's high error bars around these things. But just to give you a couple of data points, right? It's like we're starting to see regulatory clarity emerge in the United States, which I think is a bellwether for the rest of the G20. You have the Genius Act passed now for stablecoins, but this market structure bill is being debated in the Senate. Fingers crossed, something could happen by the end of this year. That would be a huge milestone. The United States government now has a strategic Bitcoin reserve. So that is, if you'd asked me 5 years ago, that would have been kind of like vision board. Someone would have said, you're crazy. Like the United States government's not going to officially hold Bitcoin. But if they do that, which there's now an executive order to do, I think a bunch of other countries are going to do that.
So, I mean, $1 million Bitcoin by 2030, bro. That's, I know 2025 has felt like we've just been kind of going sideways. Well, we didn't just go sideways. It wasn't totally boring. Someone in the chat, paper Bitcoin summer's over. No, bro. Listen.
Paper Bitcoin summer's forever.
I'm going to tell you guys right now. Paper Bitcoin summer is endless. It just keeps going. The price of Bitcoin, listen, ladies and gentlemen, you have to understand the Ponzi's over. Okay, it's wrap it up. That's why all these whales are selling. No, but in all seriousness, it wasn't just 109K to 100 and 110. I'm giving those I'm nitpicking dates for hyperbolic statements. We did go down to 76, and then I think the all-time high Opti was what? It was like 125 or something, right?
Something like that, 124-ish.
So, yeah, I mean, there was definitely volatility in between, but even from 109 to 125, like, that's not that impressive for the year after the halving. Historically, the year after the halving has been nuts. So, are we going to have an explosive Q4 like we always have had? I think that would be fantastic. I think that if we don't have an explosive Q4, we're going to be in uncharted territory. And then if we don't have an explosive Q4, I just don't see Bitcoin correcting 50, 60%. I just don't see that happening. I don't think that's going to happen. For corrections to happen of that size, it's always driven by some type of mania. And I always remember the feeling, whether it was in 2021 or in 2017, you always have euphoria. You always have that euphoria. Now, we've been chasing the euphoria of the 2017 Dragon, but 2021, we still had that euphoria. We have not had a dose of euphoria at all this year. We're in the disbelief phase, I would say, but we haven't had that thrill. We haven't had that euphoria. It has not happened, right? So if you don't have that kind of blow up structure, then do I see the market dropping 50? I mean, it could. Anything's possible. But do I see it happening? I just don't see it happening. I just don't see it happening because we've been building a base for 9 months. This is what you guys have to, the way that you guys should see it is this hasn't been this crazy run up to from 16K to 110K. No, we've literally been like stepping up a ladder, right? Now let's see if we start to get into the crazy zone. Right now, that's, I think, what everyone is paying attention to. We're 2 days into September. Let's see if October happens the way it happens. Opti's already cursed September. God damn him. But, I think it was Kramer that started. And for some reason, Opti's following Kramer now. But,
inverse Kramers.
Inverse Kramer. Yeah, but you still can't say it because then you curse it. You curse it, bro. You curse it.
I don't got that kind of pull, Nico. Come on.
Yeah, you do, bro. You do, though.
We have the inverse Opti that if I say we're going up, it goes down. If I say it goes down further.
Anyways, if you guys are enjoying the show so far, smash that like button. We're almost at 600 live viewers on YouTube alone. I want to give a shout out to the Rumble audience, the X audience, and of course, if you're listening to us on the audio platforms, smash that like button, share the content. Really, really helps with the algos. Opti, your thoughts, man. Now the CEO of Coinbase is dropping effing price predictions. This is where we are in the movie.
I don't know. This doesn't make me feel good, actually, Nico. It's not gonna happen.
Why not?
I'm not the biggest fan of Coinbase, like they do have the biggest brand, awareness. But this generally reminds me of just like Coinbase's classic orange washing. Now they see, all the things he named are things that I also do agree. And I don't know if you guys saw, but we're getting more information that there are other countries in the Middle East acquiring Bitcoin here. So like we're seeing, new regulations in the US. We're seeing ETFs get built out, sovereign wealth funds, nation states, all embracing Bitcoin. We're seeing the corporate treasury scoop up a lot of Bitcoin. Obviously, I do believe, a million in 5 years is not that crazy. If you look at historically the price movement, no, it's still 25. It's 5. What, 4 and 3 months?
4 months.
Whatever. Let's go 5. We're still in 2025.
You say 5, it's depressing.
We'll say 5. Well, but like, look at the returns that we've seen in the last 5 years. Like, I think it's gone up. I think it's like a 6 or 10x. So, like, yeah, I know the law of big numbers. That's whatever. I know, right? That's what everyone's saying. Law of big numbers, but like a 10x in 5 years, it's totally attainable. Like it's probably an easier climb for that than any of the other moves. Like people saying, oh, it's going to 58K or whatever. Like I think that is a lot harder to do than it is for Bitcoin to go to 1 million in 5 years. Now, what I think might be happening is kind of a certain semblance of orange washing here. Like all the things that Brian Armstrong named as bullish indicators for Bitcoin in general, I think are bearish indicators for his business model. So I think that's why he's starting to kind of lean into the incredible price predictions, because he understands it's like, shit, if this is playing out, then my business model is probably not what I thought it was. It's not going, they're going to have to pivot. Like you're not going to, that opens up a whole nother can. Like if we are in an eternal September moment where a whole, we're just constantly seeing new people influx into the Bitcoin space, then we might be seeing the same, stupidity play out over and over and over again. And as new capital comes in, they get sideswiped into the shit coins and those things pump. And then, Bitcoin it does this like, washing machine feature where you come into Bitcoin, you get hooked, and then you go to the side and you go in the altcoins, and that kind of dampens the Bitcoin bull markets, and we just keep doing this cycle over and over and over again
What
forever
altcoin- dude,
ad infinitum.
Altcoins are like got crushed this year too, bro.
I agree. I think we are seeing that decoupling, but I'm just saying if more people come in, and there is a hope that Bitcoin kind of education and content out there, Bitcoin only content, is good enough that people will sideswipe all that and that just completely dries up. But I'm not so sure about that. But anyways, what we are seeing is I think we are going to go into these incredible price moves. But I've been telling you guys the last couple of days, I'm just like counter trading my emotions here. I'm trying to be logical here. And the more I think it's going to dump, like in my gut, like, man, it really feels like it's going to dump, the more I know it's going to start pumping. So I think we're going to be seeing that. And really, I'm just as tired as everyone else of $1 million predictions. I'm like, can we just get to 200K first? Like, can we just get to the next level, man? Like, what are we doing here? This is boring.
Yeah, let's get to 200 first, right? Let's
get to 200K, and then we'll go super hard again on $1 million predictions.
Let's get to 200K before we're 80.
Dude, for real, dude.
All right, everybody, it's gonna be an incredible show. Strap in, smash that like button. Like I said, it's gonna be fantastic. We have a ton to talk about, so you guys are going to stay tuned in. We're gonna be right back in just a bit. We're gonna be hitting the news segment where even legacy media is admitting what me and Opti are admitting. This is the headline, by the way. Bitcoin is getting boring, and that could open more doors for the crypto asset on Wall Street. Ooh. Anyways, we're going to be talking about that in just a bit, so you guys are going to stay tuned. And then Opti's got something for you guys loaded during the culture segment that you guys are going to want to see. And we are going to be giving away some Satoshis at the end of the show by our friends over at Bitcoin Well. We're going to be playing the Bitcoin Wishing Well contest. So you guys are going to want to stay tuned for that. We're going to be right back in just a little bit.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, Ledin, the leader in Bitcoin-backed loans. Unlock the liquidity in your Bitcoin without having to sell your Bitcoin. They've issued $9 billion in loans to over 10,000 customers since 2018. I absolutely love these guys. Not only do I have an account with them, but I also have a loan. And what I love about them is that there are no monthly payments, and you could pay back the loan at any time. As soon as you send your Bitcoin as collateral, you'll have cash in your account within 24 hours. Over 1,000 five-star customer reviews, and they've never lost a single dollar or sat of customer money. Go to learn.ledin.io/simply today, and you'll get 0.25% off your first loan. I want to give a shout out to our partner, sat123.com. Sovereignty isn't just about your money. It's about your communications too. When the grid goes down, most people go dark. Cell towers fail in hurricanes, cyber attacks, and blackouts. But satellite phones? They don't rely on local infrastructure. Iridium has 77 satellites in orbit, giving you a direct line anywhere in the US, even offshore. If you hold your own Bitcoin keys, you should hold your own comms too. Sat123.com also has everything you need to start building your Bitcoin citadel. Starlink, battery backups, Faraday bags to protect your hardware wallets, and much, much more. It's a one-stop shop for anyone serious about resilience and off-grid independence. Stay connected, stay independent, stay sovereign. Go to sat123.com/simply today and use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the store.
All right, everybody, we are back. Scan the QR code on your screen right now. Go to sat123.com/simply. You get 15% off anything on the store by using promo code SIMPLY. Sovereignty isn't just about your money, it's about your communications. Imagine being able to build a Bitcoin citadel anywhere you want to go. That's exactly why you got to go to sat123.com today. Anyways, Opti, I picked this article for you, my friend. Everyone is going to be, while I read this article, I'm just going to make you full screen so people could see your facial expressions full of excitement and optimism while I read this uberly bullish article. Anyways, the name of the article, I think, is what we are all feeling. Bitcoin is getting boring. That could open more doors for the crypto asset on Wall Street. So goes on and makes its points, but I have a beautiful summary for you guys, and I'm just going to enlarge this picture of Sailor while I check it out. So Bitcoin's volatility has dropped to historic lows this year, despite record highs in May, July, and August. JP Morgan analysts attributed this to corporations rapidly accumulating Bitcoin. Corporate treasuries now hold over 6% of the supply, functioning like private sector quantitative easing and dampening price swings. The trend began with Michael Saylor's MicroStrategy and has since expanded to companies like Trump Media, GameStop, and Metaplanet, with over 180 firms adopting similar strategies. In July alone, corporations accounted for nearly 2/3 of major Bitcoin purchases. This accumulation, combined with ETFs and futures, is stabilizing Bitcoin and making it more competitive against gold as a store of value. The Trump administration has fueled this momentum by easing accounting rules, supporting corporate crypto adoption, and advancing pro-crypto legislation, such as allowing banks to issue stablecoins and enabling crypto in retirement accounts. Firms are also extending the strategy to other altcoins. While the corporate QE is strengthening Bitcoin's legitimacy and reducing volatility, questions remain about sustainability, since some companies trade below the value of their Bitcoin holdings. Still, with political backing and growing adoption, Bitcoin is entering a new phase where corporate treasuries play a central stabilizing role. Opti, I do not like the sound of that article at all. It's framing it like it's a good thing, right? Like it's framing it like, what do you mean? Like, do we want Bitcoin to be a stable coin? Like volatility is life. Volatility is a good thing. Volatility is how Bitcoin has got to this moment, right? I refuse to believe that Bitcoin's volatility is completely dry. I just refuse to believe that. Yesterday, Opti, you hit the nail on the head when you observed something. There was a picture of Bitcoin crossing the chasm, right? Like we were. Oh man, I wish I had that image pulled up so I could show you guys. It was basically the adoption curve of Bitcoin.
I'm smart.
Oh, I do have it.
I do
smart.
have it.
I always said you're smart. You're
no, you say I'm wise. I'll take wise over smart.
Anyways, I think you're smart and wise, for the record. I think Opti plays dumb, but he's a lot smarter than what he looks.
Hey, stop exposing me like that.
But anyways, Opti said something really wise yesterday. And this is essentially the Bitcoin adoption curve, the innovation curve, so to speak. And it has all these groups. It has innovators, early adopters, early majority, late majority, and the laggards. And it was interesting when we asked you guys, where are we in this curve yesterday? A lot of you guys in the chat were saying, Nico, we're still in the early adopters phase. And I'm like, no, I think we're in the early majority phase. And then Opti said, like, Nico, we're crossing the chasm. And this is why we've had this like sideways price action. Leroy Jenkins in the chat says, how far has the Overton window move shifted recently? I would say a lot, dude. I would say when the president of the United States is name dropping Bitcoin at the White House, yeah, like I think at that moment we've already won. Like this is what you guys have to understand. We've already won. It's a waiting game now. But all the uncertainty that we had, the regulatory uncertainty, whether Bitcoin is going to be made illegal, whether it's going to be embraced, all of that for now, maybe that can change under next administration. But during this current administration, at least for the next 3 years and 4 months, it's just runway, right? I know that Opti is not a Trump fan at all, but with this current administration, it's going to be very positive for Bitcoin on a regulatory front. And if it's positive for Bitcoin on a regulatory front, again, if you're an institution, you're looking at Bitcoin, you're saying, look, I have the green light. This is fantastic. And listen, BlackRock isn't going to look, the ETF got approved under the previous administration, which was openly hostile towards the industry, right? So, and the reason for that is simple. It was BlackRock's ETF, all right? So do you think BlackRock is going to let down the best performing ETFs that it's ever launched? Do you think it's ever going to let that down? No. Donald Trump, his media company, Trump Media or something, is one of the largest treasury companies on that list. If you look at the treasury companies, Trump's media company is one of the largest. his sons are heavily involved in the space. Like Eric Trump speaking at every single Bitcoin conference. Like they want their bags to pump just as much as you do, FYI, right? So anyways, that's my take on this. Opti, what's your take? Is Bitcoin getting boring? Is it over, bro? Are we just like boomers talking about our boomer coin? Or like what's happening here, bro?
I mean, dude, I've been saying for a while, this is super boring. We're trading the S&P 500. We should just rename to simply SP 500 because
Simply
the
S&P.
price, yeah, simply S&P
name.
500. Because the price is moving exactly like the S&P 500, and until something really kind of changes, I think that's what we're going to be doing. And if you look at the S&P 500 and you kind of like, map the current Bitcoin price since the ETFs, it's doing the same thing. It just like, constantly moves up in this like very boring but predictable and stable price movement. Now, do I actually think that's what's going on? I mean, there is some correlation here. But what we are seeing, and it always goes back to the same thing that I keep saying the last couple of weeks as it keeps dawning on me, is that there is a new investor in Bitcoin. And I hate using the word investor, but that's what they look at this thing as. There is a new entrant into the market, and they're trading Bitcoin like they're used to trading every other thing that they've ever held in their whole lives. And so to see a very stable kind of climb or stable climb here, that makes them feel good. Like that makes them feel safe. Like that makes them feel stable. Only Bitcoiners are the ones that really embrace volatility. And like, as much as we get called sailor simps on the show, like he does say a lot of things that really resonate with a lot of people. Like volatility is life. You do not want to have stability because that literally means death. Like having a, what's the, the beeping thing? I'm blanking right now. When you're in the hospital and your heart pulse, you do not want your heart pulsing stable. That literally means you're dying. Like you want to see spikes because that means you're alive. But again, kind of reeling this back into the beginning, what we're seeing here is that people want stability. Like that's why stable coins are catching on globally. Like that's why people invest in treasuries in the first place, because they want stable returns here. And so as much as we really dislike the meme, which is like the reality right now, Bitcoin's a stable coin. For other people, that is what they look for. They want stability. They want something that they can count on to just slowly kind of gain in value, not too flashy, doesn't have huge crashes in it. And for better or worse, this is what Bitcoin's been acting like the last, 9-10 months, or rather even like a year kind of. It's just stable growth since the ETF. For many people, that's all they want. They just want something that is going to continue to climb, a la what you see in the S&P 500 or the NASDAQ fund. It's like that's what people like. And until we see something that is, like a black swan moment, then they're not going to be taking the risk that they probably should be, because they're terrified. When you're scared and the future is uncertain, the last thing you want to be doing is taking risk. And so as that article is kind of saying, Bitcoin is, for lack of a better term, like the volatility is dying right now. Whether we see a parabolic bull run or another depressing bear market is still up for debate, but people like stability. Obviously, as Bitcoiners, like, well, we like the roller coaster. We're like, yo, give me the freaking 100x gains here, and I'll take the 80% drawdown, because that just means we are more volatile. But as we're seeing, Bitcoin is being monetized in real time. Like we've been following this along, and sometimes the volatility when it gets monetized is crazier than other times. Maybe right now, like I said yesterday, we might be in that chasm portion. And if you pull that up again, Nico, it does kind of like, it is kind of like flat going through the chasm. But once you get past the chasm is when you start to see the S-curve adoption, when people really start adopting it. And so maybe this is kind of just that slow grind up, while people kind of ingest the information. And then once we get a massive movement from retail and really individuals, and we see, 100 million plus people diving headfirst into Bitcoin, then that's when we really get the price run up. So as we are right now, Bitcoin is kind of acting like a stable coin. Hey, 9 months ago, 10 months ago, a year ago, yeah, it's kind of gone up. But if you're zooming in and you're kind of cherry picking here, the last 10 months, if you put money in Bitcoin, you haven't lost any money, which is definitely what these investors want. They're looking at everything else. The stock market's been way more volatile. Treasuries are freaking super volatile right now. And so if you're moving a lot of capital right now, if you're putting a lot of capital in Bitcoin, you're okay with not losing value. You just want to make sure you don't lose value. That's the whole game here, is make sure if you are throwing, hundreds of millions of dollars in Bitcoin, you aren't losing value. And for us, we're on the opposite side. We're like the Warren Buffett meme. If you want to build value, you put all your eggs in one basket. If you have value, then you diversify into different baskets. Well, we're seeing that everyone's playing a different game right now. So for some, low volatility is a good thing. For others, you can see me like being bored to death here because I like the price movement. That's the fun stuff. That's when we get people coming into Bitcoin. For better or worse, everyone always says the same thing. It's like, the Bitcoin price is the least important factor of Bitcoin. Decentralization, censorship resistant, freedom, et cetera, et cetera. I believe all those things. But when it comes to Main Street, what do they like? They like to see Bitcoin run because the greed kicks in, the FOMO kicks in. Actually, Nico, there was another article here. Let me see if I can find it. I don't have the subscription for this. It's like the San Francisco Chronicle or something like that. But they have this headline, and this is like the perfect summation of what's going on here. Yeah, I'm trying to find it. I'm trying to find it right now. It goes. This is San Francisco Chronicle, and it goes, crypto FOMO. Hold on. Crypto FOMO is real. Here's why it feels so bad and what you can do about it. And the solutions aren't good in this article. It's just a bunch of you can buy the ETF or you can go into altcoins or something. Whereas you can do a solution for it. And it's literally just keep buying Bitcoin. And in my culture right now, shouts out to Wicked. He did a great one of those visuals, and it just shows you you don't need too much to get into Bitcoin to change your life. You just need to be consistent with it. So if you are feeling the FOMO, which is I'm not feeling anymore, you just need to buy Bitcoin. So TradFi likes stability. Mainstream likes to FOMO. We're at this point right now where, hey, for better or worse, institutions are winning right now because they have seemed to kind of remove the volatility out of this thing for the time being. Until that comes back, I don't think we're going to be seeing an incredible FOMO from retail, and the volume's dead. No one's really buying this thing except for other people that have been in the space. The only people trading Bitcoin are Bitcoiners or shitcoiners and Bitcoiners. Retail is dead. The volume is super low right now. There's no interest coming. Yes, there's some budding interest in the mainstream around Bitcoin. But right now, I'm sure if you tell people you're a Bitcoiner, they're yeah, cool story, bro. Put the fries in the bag.
It's true, man. No one's talking about this. Bitcoin is the new stable coin. Let us know your guys' thoughts in the chat. Of course, smash that like button. We're already at 211 likes. Help us break 300 likes by the time the stream wraps up. We absolutely love you guys. You guys are tuned into Simply Bitcoin Live. Rumble's coming in hot. YouTube's coming in hot. And X is coming in hot as well. We still have a ton of things to cover. We're going to be right back in just a bit. We're going to hit the culture segment.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, HIVE Digital Technology. Why HIVE in 2025? Unstoppable growth. As the first ever public miner, HIVE's position to quadruple their global footprint, making them one of the world's fastest growing miners in 2025. And with elite operations that consistently top the industry in Bitcoin mined per exahash, HIVE's now headquartered in the USA. They're lean and mean, they're green and clean, and they're rewriting the playbook on sustainable Bitcoin mining. You can catch the latest buzz at HIVE Digital Tech or at HIVEDigitalTech.com. I want to give a shout out to our partner, BitcoinBend.io. If you're into freedom, Bitcoin, and building a real community, this is for you. Gain exclusive access to real-world, members-only, private clubs across the globe, featuring poker nights, expert-led classes, co-working spaces, educational meetups, live events, and more. Current locations include Sarasota, Nashville, Boston, Dallas, Las Vegas, and St. Louis, with new clubs launching soon in West Palm Beach, Scottsdale, Alabama, and beyond. Not to mention Bitcoin Bend's resorts in El Salvador. There's 3 of them, and they're absolutely beautiful. You'll also get access to the first fully backed Bitcoin bank with fiat ramps and savings accounts. It's called Private Key Bank, and you guessed it, it's based out of El Salvador. Go peer-to-peer with Bitcoin bulk buys, tap into home equity for long-term Bitcoin growth, and join their exclusive mining pools if you're interested in mining. What are you waiting for? Head over to bitcoinbend.io, join today, where Bitcoin meets freedom.
All right, everybody. I do want to give a shout out to Mining Disrupt. Opti and I will be there. It's going to be in Dallas, Texas. This is the largest mining conference in the world. So again, if you want to get a job in the mining industry, if you're just interested about the mining industry, this is going to be the first ever Mining Disrupt conference in Dallas, Texas. Usually it's hosted in Miami. It's going to be the first one in Dallas. You're not going to want to miss it. Again, you can click on the link in the video description or use promo code simplybitcoin to get a 20% discount. Get your tickets today. Go check out the link in the video/podcast description. Anyways, Opti.
We're going back to Dallas. Going back to Dallas in November. Let's go.
Going back to Dallas. Just dropping
though,
that.
before I move on, Ron P, we're bored at 100 grand plus. Lol. Yeah, dude. For real. This was fun for the first day. The first 4 hours was fun. We do it because we've been talking. It's because we've been talking about 100K for what, since 2021. It's like, yeah,
we've been
got
talking
there.
about 100K for 25 years.
Yeah, like we got there, but it was 5-10 years later than we thought. Anyways, it's gonna be the same thing with a million, guys. All right, so Wicked did a really good visual here. I'm on Nostr here, but this is kind of what we've been saying for as long as I've been in Bitcoin. I've been saying this, but I'm a visual learner, and when you see it visually, it really is mind blowing. And it's literally, I remember Surfer Jim did an article basically like put your beer money in Bitcoin and you're going to be happier, and that was 5 years ago. And we have a perfect illustration of this, so I'm going to show you guys this. I'm not going to put the music on because I think it's probably copywritten. But here you go. So the tweet or the post, I don't know what you call it on Nostrs, the Nostr post says saving in dollars versus gold versus Bitcoin. After 400 weeks of $50 DCA, you'd have $20,000 had you saved in dollars. 11.322 ounces of gold worth 38,864 had you saved in gold, or 1.3719 Bitcoin worth $148,707 had you saved in Bitcoin. So here we go. I'm going to play this in the background. You can see where it diverges, how a simple DCA strategy in Bitcoin, literally $50 a day, could change your life. Look, you save what was it? $50 a day since this was, I believe, 2020 at the beginning. Was that, what's 400 weeks, Nico? Yeah, that's about 4 years. So if you started in 2020, 2021, just $50 a day, you would have about $148,000 in Bitcoin today. Now, of course, that price volatility could change over time, but the visual remains the same. And I tell this to all my friends, and they all tell me the same exact thing of like, I can't buy a full Bitcoin, bro. I don't have $100,000. Like, dude, it doesn't matter. $50 a week, you're going to be good. $100 a week, you're going to be good. And of course, it'll keep going. But I really like Hodl's kind of take on this. He's like, the thing I always think about with these animations is not how much better Bitcoin is than gold, which is obvious, but how little $50 a week truly is. The average person's life would be greatly improved if they had an extra 150K. obviously, and the average person spends $50 a week on absolute bullshit that does not improve their life. It just seems like an absolute waste when you think about it. And this is like, it's not even a hard ask here that we're telling people, hey, just save $50 a week in Bitcoin. Your life's going to get better. And everyone says the same thing. Like, oh, I don't have 100K in Bitcoin. You show them a visual of this, is like, look, would you like $150,000 today? Everyone would say yes. Well, all you have to do is follow the blueprint of buying $50, $100 a week in Bitcoin, and your life's going to be incredibly different. And everyone's like, no, bro, that's not how it works, bro. You know, $50 a week isn't going to be able to get me a whole coin. It's like it could have if you listen to me, but that's beside the point. It's like, do you want to save your value? Do you have any value to provide to the world? Well, a measly $50. You know, one good dinner. Well, actually, one DoorDash. One DoRdash meal.
$50 these days, bro. It's like one Uber Eats meal or something.
Dude, it's literally one Uber Eats. The different taxes they put on DoorDash and stuff, it's crazy, bro. You buy like a burger and some fries and a shake, $30, somehow it ends up $50. You're like, what is going on here? Where are these fees coming from? I know I tipped them well, but that wasn't freaking half of what I ordered here. But it's just like the visuals is so simple, guys. The strategy is so simple. At this point, I'm a broken record, but like, you guys know this. We've been telling this for everyone. Yes, everyone says Opti, can speak about nothing for 30 minutes, but it's like, guys, you forget one thing. Everything's already been said, but no one was listening the first time. So hopefully more people are listening here. They just follow the strategy, just commit to the strategy. And dude, who doesn't want an extra 150K lying around? And all you have to do is buy $50 a week of Bitcoin. Like, if your life is hard right now, you should probably be buying some Bitcoin and don't spend it for 4 or 5 years and you're going to be good. Like, skip a burger and buy some sats.
Amen. Amen to that. Skip a burger, buy some sats. Anyways, guys, it's that time of the show where we're going to be giving away some sats, and we're going to be giving away some sats through our boys over at Bitcoin Well. Bitcoin Well is the best place to build your automatic self-custody Bitcoin stack. And when you buy Bitcoin on Bitcoin Well, you earn something called Bitcoin Well points, and you could use those points towards the Bitcoin Wishing Well contest, which we're going to be demonstrating live on air for you guys right now. Again, you earn these points in 2 ways, actually. If you sign up using the bitcoinwell.com/simply code, you actually get 3 tosses into the Wishing Well, absolutely free. And we're going to be doing a live demonstration for you guys right now. Bam, bing, bang, boom, tossing a coin in. The coin is currently falling into the well. Just hit the water. And bam, if you scan the QR code right now, you have won yourself 314 Satoshis. Again, if you use the promo code that I just said, bitcoinwell.com/simply, you get 3 tosses into the Wishing Well. Every toss you win, and every toss you have an opportunity to win up to 1 million sats. Guys, we love you. That was the show for September 2nd, 2025. I'm your host, Nico. This is my legendary co-host, who's always optimistic, Optimus Fields.
I'm not so optimistic right now, Nico.
This is my legendary co-host, Nihilist Fields, who's always nihilistic. If you guys enjoyed today's show, smash that like button, consider subscribing, and we'll see you guys tomorrow for a brand new episode. Take care, everybody, and stack some sats. Use those $50 wisely. Go
if we're all tired of the Bitcoin price, everyone should be buying. We need to move this price up. Start buying Bitcoin. I know we're all broke, but we should be buying Bitcoin.
Exactly. Don't sell your Bitcoin to BlackRock. All right, love you guys. We'll see you guys. We'll see you on the next one. Peace out.
Today's episode was brought to you by BitcoinWell.com, a Bitcoin-only platform on a mission to enable financial independence.